have a new intro, so that was pretty fun to watch. Today we have David Meltzer. I am so excited to have you here, David. You are the chairman of the Napoleon Hill Institute. That is amazing. And you formerly served as the CEO of Leigh Steinberg Sports and Entertainment. So that was the inspiration for the movie Jerry Maguire. So were you the inspiration for the character Jerry Maguire, David?
Oh, no. Leigh Steinberg was. I was the CEO of the firm, in which they based the entire movie off of the firm and all the different characters. But the character of Jerry Maguire was the famous Berkeley graduate, Leigh Steinberg.
Got it. I was kind of kidding, but thank you for that explanation. Yeah. And you are just doing all sorts of big things. Your journey has been featured in books and movies and TV and Think and Grow Rich and Netflix Beyond the Secret. And your life's mission is to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. And you are here today because you wrote Don't Do Business with Dicks. So thank you so much for being here. So tell us a little bit about the book and what can we expect if we order it?
Well, first, the other books I wrote in the same genre of a combination of the human experience with the infinite power that we have, but I named them more appropriately: Connected to Goodness, Compassionate Capitalism, Unstoppable, Creating the Life You Love, Game Time Decision Making. And Simon & Schuster said, look, nobody's going by the airport buying Compassionate Capitalism when they see that title. You need to market your book because you can't sell a secret, David. And these books are too good and they take too long to get traction. Why not create a title that's more enticing than the original title, which I had, which was How to Ditch Toxicity from Your Life, or Surround Yourself with Positive Influence. So I took a name that is working grandly. Don't Do Business with Dicks is about how to ditch toxicity from your life, how to surround yourself with positive influences, which obviously, after watching your intro, is completely aligned with the mission of Culture Forward as well.
Yes. That's what I'm here on LinkedIn Live to help people also ditch toxicity at work. And I've been in this world for about 25 years because I worked in a toxic work environment and got went to grad school and got my degree in organizational communication. But I did all my research on toxic work environments. So I like to joke, I have a master's degree in toxicity. So toxicity, or that word toxic, is all over the place. Probably my algorithm is a little biased because that's the videos that I get fed given my world, but I do feel like it's everywhere. Tell me about the word toxic or toxicity. Do you think it is overused? And what does toxic or toxicity mean to you?
Yeah, look, I don't think any words are overused. In fact, some of the words like thank you are underused, and they're probably used more than any other words. And so when you're looking at toxicity, it's personal to each individual. And that's what makes it so difficult in a work environment, is that people categorize things as either aligned with where they want to be, aligned with their perspective, aligned with what they feel they've been responsible or accountable for. And then toxicity becomes that which interferes with it. And so coming from someone who's been in the business world for 35 years and dealing with on each side toxic environments professionally and personally, I've really found that it's misused, not overused. And that both employers and employees misuse the term because they make it so personal. So, for example, I had one of my employees utilize drugs at a function, and I had probably expressed my dissatisfaction in a too loud of a voice. But nothing that was inappropriate was said, other than how inappropriate it was to use drugs in a work function. And that person ended up telling everyone that I was mean. Tell them why I yelled. but that this was, and went on Glassdoor and put, this is a toxic environment. And so those things happen all the time. But yet there are toxic environments, and that was not a situation which I would describe or define as toxic. But nonetheless, I think we have to elevate our awareness to the word's not misused. It's just, overused, it's misused. And it's because it's personal to someone that this incident or activity was aligned with where I wanted to be or better, or is it interfering with it, which then becomes defined as toxic.
Okay, I like that distinction, that it's misused, and I would say that person doing the drugs was the toxic one in that scenario.
Yes, but unfortunately, we have platforms where people can label you toxic. And I always say, and especially companies like Glassdoor, I love Glassdoor because anyone that does not want to apply for a job at my business because someone says a positive or a negative thing on Glassdoor, then you're not meant to be in my business. It's actually qualifying the person as someone that I don't want to be involved in my business.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that person didn't say, I did drugs at work and then I got yelled at, and that yelled at was toxic. I would say, so I see this a lot, like when I do webinars and things in the chat, people will say, well, it's not, my workplace isn't really toxic, but we have a real miscommunication problem. Nobody really likes the leader, or we're not toxic, but we have some long-standing cliques that we need. And my response to that is often, well, that kind of sounds toxic. I think people get like, ooh, that's a big emotional word. But I would say toxic is anything that disrupts the functioning of the organization or disrupts how people feel and making people feel valued. And I think that word toxic really is about insidiousness, right? Like when you think of toxic waste, it's insidious. It gets in the oceans and slowly kills things, right? And so I'm a fan of the word
toxic. That's why I like the trajectory version of, is this aligned with the divine direction of the company? My mission in my company is to make a lot of money for the sake of helping others and having fun. So anything that's not aligned, like those clicks or other things that you mentioned, those would be defined for me as toxic things because they're not aligned with making a lot of money for the sake of helping others and having fun. Those things are not fun. Those things don't help make money, and they don't help other people. So this, for me, when I'm defining it in the culture of our company, I love people to categorize things. Come to me, let me know what's interfering with our potential. What's interfering with our direction, with our divine direction, and let's resolve it. Let's dissipate it, dissolve it, and address what we can do to ease the interference between us and our potential.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of the tips in your book? Give us a couple tips so we know what we'd be reading about.
Yeah, I think understanding, first of all, the natural protection of the human experience. So whether it be persons, places, things, circumstances, events, whatever it may be in our lives, we have uncertainty and we have fear. And these are omnipresent. And the human experience is from the time the heart starts till it stops. And it's divided by 24 hours. So I help people utilize those 24 hours to understand the clues, the patterns, and the choices that we make that are interfering with our divine direction, and teach them how important the meaning of their past, the failures, the mistakes, the setbacks, the defining moments. And the reason that's so important, is I'll indicate in the book, and I give exercises and practices to help people, is that our self-image is limited by the meaning we give the past, the failures, the setbacks, mistakes, defining moments, historical relevances, and we never will overachieve our own self-image. So in the book, we look at the human experience, and not only the natural reaction to fear or uncertainty that, is one of defending ourselves, proving ourselves, or controlling our environment, but it actually goes a step further and discusses the response to that reaction to defending ourselves, proving ourselves, or controlling a situation. So we look at the need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, or worried, all that interfere with our potential. And I teach the practices that keep us in the divine direction, that allow us to examine and identify through the clues and the patterns to make better choices about what energy that's created by the people, places, things, circumstances, or events that are aligned with or are interfering with our potential.
Okay. Can you give us one of those exercises or a short
Sure. So one of the
idea?
exercises is the 5 daily practices. And
Okay.
so what we do is we separate our day from non-negotiable behavior, which is behaviors that will create 90% of our growth. 90% of our growth is created by non-negotiable behavior that assigns time to behaviors that I will do a minimum amount of time every day, regardless of the circumstances of the day. And if I have to take exception, I will never double down on the loss. So I'll make it a super priority if I miss out on a day because I'm human. So I have a minimum amount of time for my sleep, a minimum amount of time on my health, a minimum amount of time with my family, a minimum amount of time on my faith, a minimum amount of time, studying relativity, and studying my finances. And so that equals approximately 12 hours a day. Most of it's sleeping, but that allows me to have the security of not feeling as if I don't get everything done every day, because my mission is predicated upon 90% of my growth of those non-negotiable behaviors. So when I complete the assigned time to my non-negotiable behaviors, I now can do what I want, when I want, with who I want, for as long as I want, and prioritize the other 12 hours by what do I want today according to the circumstances of the day. Who can I help and who can help me? How best can I use the 12 hours of awake time beyond my non-negotiable with negotiable behaviors, and look at what's planned, what's not planned, what's paid for, what's not paid for, and how then am I going to prioritize my now, knowing that when I know what's important to me, I can understand what's important to me, and then I can prioritize accordingly. So I am doing things now and doing things next, knowing 100% of the things that I do now get done. No procrastination, no overwhelmed feelings. And then instead of searching for my why, which is the most common question I get from all levels of people that I coach, mentor, and teach, you now understand that we apply our why. We're not in search of it. By finding what we're doing to interfere with our why, we then apply our why for more of the time that God has guaranteed us, the 24 hours a day that he guarantees every day of your life, except for the last day of your life.
Wow. Okay. So I'm curious to hear from the comments. I see a couple comments in there. So I know there's some listeners out there. That sounds like it takes a whole lot of discipline. So how do we get, it sounds like you're saying, in a way, start your day off with sort of a list, or maybe the night before of, here are my, you have your ongoing go ahead.
It's not as disciplined as you think, because the non-negotiables are what you're committed to doing every day. So, and they're things that should be prioritized to get progress or growth in your life. And the majority of it's sleep. So my day starts at 9 p.m. So I have an unwinding routine where I dedicate a minimum of 7 hours a day with a sleep coach, by the way, for 20 years to maximize my sleep. And every single day I have a minimum of 7 hours of sleep for two purposes. One, recovery. And everybody knows the better you recover, the better you will perform in all aspects, mental, physical, and spiritual aspects of your life. But what most people don't recognize with sleep is that by sleeping well, you elevate your awareness. And if you elevate your awareness, you now have the ability to make better choices. having awareness allows you to make better choices. In other words, allows you not to interfere with your potential as well. Now, it might sound disciplined to spend a minimum amount of time on your health, but like any other behavior, don't assign that much time to it to get started. So instead of where I'm at, a minimum of an hour a day, start with a minimum of 5 minutes. With my own kids, I have 4 kids. I have a minimum of 2 minutes a day, with my kids 7 days a week. But also know how physics and quantum physics and metaphysics work. If 2 minutes a day of intentional behavior without missing equals 2 hours on a Saturday. So now you're talking about getting a lot greater outcome, fulfillment, passion, purpose, and profitability out of your life by having non-negotiable behaviors. If discipline is a problem for you, lower the bar, assign less time just to start building the habit, the behavior, and sooner or later your minimums will rise up to far more than 2 minutes.
I love that. Okay. And doing things like, hey, if I want to work on my sleep, then I'm not going to bring my phone into my room with me at night. I'm going to leave it out in the kitchen. So you kind of force yourself into some of these habits by
unwinding routine. Put your body, your mind, and your soul in a position to recover and access awareness.
Yeah. I'm curious, what is your morning routine? When you wake up in the morning, what do you do to prep for the day?
Beautiful. So, the unwinding routine is a form of meditation to put your mind, body, soul in a position to recover and access information. I wake up at 4 a.m. and start my day with 20 minutes of transcendental meditation to access that information I received in my recovery and utilize it in an elevated manner of awareness for my day. I then get ready to work out or spend time on my health. And so by 4:30, I'm in my home gym or in the hotel gym or outside, utilizing cardio, stretching, balance, and strength in varying degrees, 7 days a week. I then go into an hour of research for faith in the study of time, relativity, and my study of finance, which is at the minimum checking my accounts every day, because I believe my banking, all of my finance has its own consciousness. And if we pay attention and give intention every day, you'll elevate your awareness to that consciousness. And then from there, I spend a minimum of an hour a day with my family. So I'm either calling my kids, being with my kids, with my wife, calling friends or family. I have a list of relativity, I call it. It has about 4,675 people on it. And I literally, with the leftover minimum amount of time beyond my wife and my 4 kids, I call aunts and uncles, high school, elementary, college, law school, business school, and associates, and either text them, call them, just checking in, wishing them well, sending my love. And I then make sure that I'm in constant contact in that relativity of people in my life, the right people. And so then I start enacting the activities that I get paid for and not paid for by being a student of my calendar. I study my calendar with those activities, and I study the unplanned time so that when God laughs at me for coming up with such a great plan, I have parking places for all the things that I had to reschedule or adapt to with the circumstantial behavior or circumstances of the day.
Okay. Now here's a question for you. Because, well, for one, I got to say, you should be the leader of the Gen Z movement, because I think I just did a webinar last week on what they want. And what they want is work-life balance, time to meditate, time to understand their world, time to be with their friends. And of course, everyone in the business world's like, how dare they want those things? And I'm
not me. The Gen Zers that work for me, they make 6 and 7 figures, and they have unlimited time off. They exercise, they meditate, they spend time on their health. They're happy, which is my mission, to empower over 1 billion people to be happy by teaching people how to make a lot of money for the sake of others and having fun. That's what Gen Zs want.
Yes, it is. And that's kind of my mission too, is whenever I'm doing that webinar talking about Gen Zs, it's like, I think it's great. They just want the opposite of all the broken stuff they've been observing all of these years. So on that note of kind of like the rest of the world or the business world has a hard time struggling, I think, with what you're talking about based on, things like my Gen Z webinars. When you were at the CEO of what was the name of versus Napoleon Hill Foundation, obviously the Napoleon Hill Foundation, like everything you're talking about, that's the world of Napoleon Hill. But when you were the CEO of the other organization, did you have time to do all those things and made time and said and put a stake in the ground and said, I'm doing this? Or what was the difference?
The difference was the amount of time, but yes, I had time. I just didn't have a minimum of an hour to spend, right? It was much less time, but I utilized and understood the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential and the importance of spending a minimum amount of time every day, for example, on my health, every day, for example, with my family. Two of the things that, for me, disciplined people are giving up. They're so disciplined working, they forget to do three things that they are disciplined or their intention, which is they're so disciplined working, they forget to make money. They're so disciplined working, they forget to be healthy. And they're so disciplined working, they forget to spend time with their family. And if you ask them why they're working, they'll tell you so they can make more money, spend more time with their family, and be more healthy. And so for me, it may not have been an hour, it was 20 minutes. But I spent that time every day. And if I missed a day, I doubled down on it the next day, never stack losses. They become behaviors and habits. But yes, I instituted this at Lee Steinberg, not just for me, but for the agents and lawyers and marketers and all the different people that worked with me. We had a large organization. And I made sure that they could tell me at any time, tell me your non-negotiables. And if they didn't know in assigned time and they were BSing me, I'd say, okay, you're going to meet me for lunch and we're going to create those together. And I would take the time to take them to lunch because it was that important to me that they weren't just going through the motions like employees do and just lie to you and tell you, yeah, I got my non-negotiables. I would test them and press them. What is the amount of time? Because I know that 90% of their growth and for the growth of the organization was dependent upon those non-negotiables, not the way they dealt with circumstance.
Yeah. And so you are the opposite CEO of the CEOs I work with who are all focused on the bottom line. And they often, one thing we do is coach leaders accused of a hostile work environment or, just creating a lot of drama and trauma. And the reason that service sells is because there's CEOs out there who say that person brings so much value. It's worth it to me to let other people suffer. And you are entirely opposite of that, right?
Yeah. And that's why I wrote the book, Don't Do Business with Dicks, is that in my career, I have always fired too slow toxicity. And now later in my career, I don't, here's, if you think, and I'm talking to the leaders out there, if you think a toxic employee is valuable because they make you more money, then add a column to your spreadsheet and then make that decision. And the column is called emotional expense. And I had an employee that made $500,000 a year. He made me far more than that. But when I saw how many employees left, how many employees did not come to be hired by good people, how much aggravation, emotional expense he cost me, right, in my time, which interfered with my success. I may have been paying him $500,000, but I was losing $1 million more a year in emotional expense. And so I encourage any leader who go ahead that thinks that this employee is profitable to add an emotional expense column and look at talent acquisition, talent development, and talent retention, just those three things, and do a quantitative analysis, and then add your own emotional expense of all the problems you have to deal with all of those people, including directly with that person. Invariably, almost 100% of the time, you'll find that is your least profitable employee, even though they're making you money.
That is correct. And we have all sorts of calculators to share to drive that point home. Write in how much money they make, and then write in all the costs. And we talk about opportunity costs too. I feel like obviously there aren't any toxic people in my workplace at Civility Partners, but if there was, what are the opportunity costs? What am I not doing? What sale did I miss, or networking event I should have gone to because I was caught up having a conversation with this person yet again, or I was trying to, placate some person who, so there's just so many ways to look at the cost of toxicity. And I always feel like I shouldn't have a job. It's a little bit sad that Civility Partners even exists, and we're on a mission to create civility across the world, but should already be.
I'm trying to put you out of business, and you're trying to put you out of business. That's our goal.
Yep. When I'm out of business, we'll know the world has changed.
Yes, I can't wait.
Well, yes, me too. Give us one final tip, David, with our last couple minutes.
Yes, thank you for respecting my time. Number one, I'd like to offer everyone my book in your community. So Awesome. If you email me, David, which means beloved, @D, which is my first initial, Meltzer means servant. So let me be your beloved servant. I will sign, send, pay for shipping and the book, david@dmeltzer.com. Please put it in the notes. But the last tip is really a simple one. And it's what I would love to be known for. And it's about kindness. Somebody said, if you look at the dictionary under discipline, you'd see David Meltzer. I hope that someday, if you look in the dictionary and see the word kind, you may also see my face there as well. So my favorite tip is be kind to your future self and do good deeds. It's that simple. Be grateful, be forgiving, be accountable, be inspired, and you will make a lot of money for the sake of helping others and having fun. Thank you so much for allowing me to share our story and the tips and lessons to be an abundant, professional, and personal person. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all of your work, and we'll get your email out. Take him up on his offer, and thank you, David. Have a great day, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you.